at me like that? Oh, I thought you weren't coming.
Oh, of course I was coming. I would have been here earlier, but they had me on the vaccine vans today. Lines were around the corner. Have you gotten your vaccine yet?
Well, actually, I was gonna tell you, and I want to.
Please hush.
We're trying.
Relatable was what it was. I've definitely they definitely hit all the beats of the different sides of the vaccine from the perspective of Black people from different generations and different backgrounds and all that stuff. I think to hit all of those things in a balanced way, the way that they did, is impressive. And to keep it still relatable, clearly I've heard these arguments before. You know what I'm saying? I've heard people in my life say both sides of these things. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely, somebody used the term intensely relatable, which I really appreciate that. As a filmmaker who makes films that are also intensely relatable, I definitely rock with what y'all going for here.
Really playful and honest performances with just a natural chemistry of the whole cast, bouncing off one another and in their pacing. It just felt very fresh. Brought me right back to the midst of the pandemic, and it really captured those vibrant and passionate discussions about COVID and getting vaccinated, and all of the different opinions piling on one another. But this had that perfect level of humor, variety of opinions, informed discussion, and it was like the most ideal Facebook thread of what we kind of hope for, where there is listening and understanding and maybe change. So just really great communication between all of them and great writing.
What really touched me was the vaccine subject. As we know, many people don't really believe in the vaccine, and they suddenly became all doctors in the past 3 years. But this is the point of the movie, just to not only to just pull out a few laughs from the audience, but also to teach, educate about this important subject. I thought the movie was very well shot, and I enjoyed the cinematography and the direction, and above all the performances.
I think it was really strong messaging disguised as everyday conversation and family, which most people have had or had similar conversations. So it all felt very real, very authentic, and also really informative. I think they just did a great job at showing both perspectives, getting the information out there in a really easily digestible way, because this short is just filled with delightful characters on both sides of the spectrum. And anytime any of them talks, they just steal the screen. They all do a fantastic job. Really, just a sharp film for such a simple concept. They just did a great job at really putting it all together and making it larger than the sum of its parts.
So I did enjoy the sort of theme that they took, especially with regards to what has been happening because of COVID, and how to sort of address these certain issues, especially when it comes to interpersonal relationships with family, and then what that kind of would look like. And so to encourage other people to have those sort of conversations as well. I enjoyed that it addressed the themes of, vaccines, vaccine hesitancy, and so the sort of miscommunication that can come around that. And yeah, again, the show just shows those sort of conversations, but especially enjoyed how it's happened because with an African American family, and how it was different with those sort of conversations, and how they were affected specifically.
This is a good film for the COVID vaccine discussion. We have it focused around a family having a picnic, and there's three things going on. We've got them discussing their points of view and their differing points of view. We've got humor, and everybody's getting along pretty well despite their differences. And I think it's relatable for anybody watching, because we can usually identify with at least one or two of the family members. There's a good ending where the voice of reason, the grandmother, the older, wiser one of the family, announces that she's had the vaccine.
I can definitely relate to a lot of the concerns, especially ones that were brought up from the Black community. And I do like that a lot of them are refuted in the film. Because, yeah, like, one of the biggest things that was always a concern is, like, how genuine is it? Can you trust it? But I feel like the film does a very good job of refuting those arguments with its own counter arguments. And all in all, it's a very important message. But I feel it was a good choice to make it very lighthearted. It doesn't antagonize you for having those concerns. It just, because everyone, like, at some point wasn't really sure how or what they felt at that time.
This film was made in the early days with the information that was coming out, and now we know more. Like, if you do have the vaccine, you can get COVID. You can get, it doesn't even impact the severity of it, is what we've seen. But overall, this did feel like a real family where it doesn't matter what the topic is, that it shows that families usually have different opinions, whether it's in this case the COVID vaccine, or it could be something political, it could be anything. And there are things that we see that it can cause an argument when it's brought up when it's supposed to be a joyous occasion like grandma's birthday. But you still have that voice of reason. Granny pretty much saying, knock it off and let's just enjoy my party. Where they're not, and she had already made up her own opinion. Whereas the whole family was going, Granny's getting the vaccine, she's not, rather than anybody actually asking Granny what her own opinion was. And she's the voice of reason at the end that you all need, saying she did make up her own opinion. She didn't need her family's help deciding what she needed. That she made that with her own personal decision, whether she did it with a medical provider or came to it on her own. It was still her business and her choice, where she didn't need her arguing family to decide. And I think a lot of times this film did show that a lot of times we do discount that the elderly are still their own people and they are able to make their own choices, and they don't really need us, their family, to decide things for them. They can do it themselves.
Both funny and having a really important message, because it does show, like, how people are skeptical of it and everything like that, and it does a good job of presenting, like, the benefits of getting vaccinated. And so this is funny, but also has a good message, and I think the performances are good as well.